India has the population of 1.4 billion, making it the most populous country in the world. People are everywhere and they need place to live. But sadly, India ranks 7th in terms of size, with an area of 3.28 million square kilometers. So they need to build high for the demand for space in the congested areas. But that is not the case in India. The country is home to 6 of the most highly populated cities in the world and has the second highest GDP on the continent after China. But its skylines doesn't really reflect these numbers. For a quick comparison, China has almost 2000 skyscrapers, while India, despite its vast population, has just over 200, and most of which are concentrated in Mumbai. Mumbai, much like New York and Hong Kong, sits on a costly peninsula, which makes it an ideal place for skyscrapers. However, it's not quite keeping up in the skyscraper game. So why does India build slow instead of reaching for the sky? In 1985, the same year as the Indian National Congress, Chicago unveiled the world's first skyscraper, the Home Insurance Building. This 10-story marvel stood at 138 feet tall, featuring a fireproof steel and metal skeleton. This unique and new design transformed tall building construction and city planning forever. Now back to present time. To many of us, skyscrapers are symbols of things like wealth, power and growth, and they tend to rise in places where there's high demand for space. But instead of going tall, the country tends to build horizontal, and there are few reasons for that. One is infrastructure. With such a large population, India experiences frequent power cuts, especially during the hotter months, when demand for electricity is high. High skyscrapers consumes more than the low-rise buildings, so it's essential that the surrounding infrastructure can support them. That's the part of the explanation, but really, there's an even bigger culprit behind the country's short skyline. And it's known as the Floor Space Index, also known as the FSI. The FSI is the ratio between the total amount of floor space a developer can construct to the plot of the land that floor space is being built on. It determines the total area that's allowed to be built across all floors. The FSI can reduce the land cost where the piece of land is expensive or limited. But India is not the only country to have these regulations. Several cities have these building codes, but India is very strict for its rules than most countries with similar profiles. Take a look at Mumbai. In 1991, to limit new constructions and keep migrants out, Mumbai introduced an FSI of just 1.3. And to give you a bit of context on how low this number really is, in New York, Manhattan has an average FSI of 15, Hong Kong's FSI is 12, Tokyo's is 20, and Singapore's is a staggering 25. But sadly, Mumbai's horizontal growth is also limited due to its geographical location on an island, but the low FSI limits it even further. And now Mumbai has started to change its regulations, but only slightly. Now the FSI changes between 2.5 and 5 depending on the exact location. Other cities across India have similar or even lower numbers. It's also an attempt to reduce the number of people living in one area and control the scale of development. And with so many job opportunities in places like Mumbai and Bangalore, people have been flocking to these city centers. But with lower FSIs and higher population, developers can't keep up. Many new urban planners have said increasing FSI would be a good first step to solve overcrowding and lowering house prices. But it would also have to be accompanied by investments in mass transportations, roads, and other infrastructure networks. Development has rapidly increased in just last few years. Though it's just a small increase, the recent change in Mumbai's FSI could indicate a taller future for the city's skyline and a better managed population density. In 2022 alone, 31 skyscrapers are expected to complete in India. 27 of them are in Mumbai, reaching heights of around 200 meters and mostly offering residential spaces. India's population growth, especially in its major cities, isn't slowing down anytime soon. And the real estate cost will continue to rise as the ground space shrinks. But if the country builds further into the sky and invests more in its infrastructure, then its urban housing crisis would start to ease, and Mumbai could have a brand new skyline. Speaking of brand new, check out the brand new one-of-a-kind $2.4 billion MSG sphere straight out of a science fiction.